while those who inaccurately report the experience of such hallucinations.
Right now on Brookland News Live, we are continuing to monitor the Lindsay Clancy trial as it's now expected to be in its last week. And breaking news right now, the president is speaking from the Rose Garden, and it's the reason we're beginning Brookland News Live a few moments early so we can take you into that event at the Rose Garden. We're watching that all as the heat continues right now in Brooklyn. We'll have an updated look at your forecast coming up on this edition of Brookland News Live. Stick with us because it all starts right now.
Brookland News Live starts right now with breaking news.
And that breaking news is from the White House. It's good to be with you. Thank you for joining us. I'm Jackson Mitchell. We're starting a few moments early so we can take you to the event at the White House. President Donald Trump speaking there on school choice as in a beginning of school celebration, a Rose Garden luncheon. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the governor of Arkansas, is also in attendance of today's event. Want to take you live there and begin listening in.
A race politically, just crazy. I've never seen anything like it, but it continues out there. Although we've had big court victories, as you know, and we've largely stopped it. Every public school in America is now on notice that if they tell a child that they're trapped in the wrong body, they are committing child abuse. And as we remove the far-left extremism from the classroom, we're taking historic action to ensure that every child in America has access to a first-class education. The United States spends more money on education than any other country in the world by double, and our results should be better than they are. I would look at lists where we're rated out of the 40 top nations, we're rated number 38, 39, and number 40 with all the money we spent. But Linda has changed that so rapidly and so drastically, and frankly, it's shocking how fast it's gone under her leadership. 1 year ago, as part of the Great Big Beautiful Bill, we passed the Education Freedom Tax Credit, the largest ever expansion of school choice, and we want, thank you, and we want every parent to have the power to send their child to a high-quality school that shares their values. It's so important. With us today are Caleb and Jocelyn Griffith and their beautiful family from Statesville, North Carolina, great place. They've 3 biological sons and 2 foster children. School choice and education freedom scholarships are going to give these kids more opportunity than ever before. And I'd like to ask Caleb and Jocelyn to come up and say a few words, please. How are you? Nice to see you. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, thank you for the honor of speaking today. I'm Pastor Caleb Griffith, and I'm joined by my 5 beautiful children. As President Trump said, 2 of them came to us through foster care, which is wonderful. But my children, 1 of them has autism, and 1 has developmental delays. And although they qualify for an IEP, because of the situation, they were unable to get them. So we've been unable to access the support and help they need to be successful. And we're blessed to be from a state that offers school choice, and it has helped part of our children's educational needs. I personally have seen the benefit of the Opportunity Scholarship for my family and the school my children attend, Cornerstone Christian Academy, who is up for running for the Yaz Prize. But it's thanks to great organizations like Parents for Educational Freedom, who have helped 105,000 families just like mine access the Opportunity Scholarship. And now, because of you, Mr. President, and because of you, Secretary McMahon, the Educational Freedom Tax Credits will give my children the access to the services they need to be successful in the most formational years of their lives. I want to tell you, we only get one chance to educate our children, and our children are the future of America. The Bible says to train up a child in the way that they should go, and that's to parents, and this allows parents to do that. So on behalf of my family and every family in America that will access this, thank you, President Trump, and God bless America.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you. Thank you. What a great job. Beautiful, beautiful family. Whoop. He made it. Well, as many of you know, no one cares more about America's children and foster youth than our great First Lady. She works hard at it and loves the children. Through her Fostering the Future initiative, Melania is helping transform the lives of children and young people aging out of the foster care system. And she's bringing hope and countless, and you have to see so many people, so many phone calls, so much work, but really bringing hope to countless numbers of families and children, and it's really something to see. It's so difficult. They go through foster care, and then all of a sudden they're released into the world. And, you know, many people have something to fall back on, but they don't. They can't go back to their parents for a little help or for staying overnight or for staying for years in some cases. And it's a very, very tough. So I want to thank Melania. She takes it so seriously. She's done such a great job. It's been so effective. Thank you. And as part of the great, big, beautiful bill, we have massively expanded 529 education saving accounts tremendously, doubling the annual withdrawal cap from K-12 expenses to $20,000 a year, and allowing families to save the education and money for education at the private or religious school of your choice. So that's something that never happened before. Nobody could even think about doing it. They can't believe it's happened now. And it's largely Linda and her representatives that have done this. And now, for the first time ever, families can also have their 529 accounts to support homeschool education. And then, thank you. And then one of the biggest things of all is what's happened with the Trump accounts, where kids will have money. I mean, every child is given at birth, newborn, $1,000. And you're going to watch that money grow. People like Michael and Susan Dell have put up a tremendous amount of money, over $6 billion. But we have many people. Some people have taken on an entire state, like the state of Indiana, by a very, very fantastic friend of mine, Brad. Thank you very much. And some very wealthy people and very wealthy companies are putting up tremendous amounts of money. The Trump accounts is being talked about all over the world. It's very good and very hot. Joining us today, Marina and Hubert from Jacksonville, Florida. They've been homeschooling their 3 children for 11 years and will benefit enormously from the new policy. The amount of money they're getting is something that they can very much use, and it's something that wouldn't have happened without the Trump administration. So Marina and Hubert, please come up and say a few words.
Mr. President, thank you so much for this opportunity to be here. I have with me my beautiful family, my wife, Marina. We homeschool our 3 kids. We've been homeschooling for the last decade. My oldest son is going into 9th grade, my daughter going into 6th, and my youngest son is going into 3rd grade. Homeschooling is something that is very personal to me. Back in 1988, my parents made the decision to homeschool me. And so I was homeschooled from kindergarten all the way through the 12th grade. And I've been blessed with the opportunity to do the same for my family. Back in 1988, homeschooling wasn't popular. And there was not, I don't think, a president who was supporting us. At this time, to see your administration and all that you've done for homeschooling families not only means the world to me, but to also all the other homeschooling families that are out there. With the great big beautiful bill, the expansion of 529, oftentimes with homeschooling, there were 1-income households because I'm working and my wife is schooling the kids. So being able to have the extra resources to provide them with their needs and also the option to support our children in the way that we see fit means the world. So I just want to thank you for everything that you've done.
Great parents. You have great parents.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. That's beautiful, beautiful family. Thank you. Well, I'm very proud to say that the Trump administration's achieved more for the benefit of Americans' children in less than 2 years than most administrations do in many years. 8 years, or frankly, you can take 2 or 3 administrations, put them together. They haven't been able to do what we did. After decades of racist policies and illegal quotas, We brought back the merit system into education. We're back on the merit system, which is what made our country great in the first place, so that our children will always be judged by the achievements and qualifications, not by the color of their skin or any other reason. We issued a guidance for protecting the right to prayer, and we now protect prayer in the public schools. They're totally protected. And last year I signed a historic executive order to begin the process of eliminating the Federal Department of Education, getting them out of Washington, and bringing education back to the states, the most important thing. And working with me on the Council on Physical Fitness, we've proudly brought back a wonderful tradition, the Presidential Fitness Test. I signed the Whole Milk for Healthy Kids Act, which people loved, and the farmers love it because they know how good it is, more than anybody. But the Whole Milk for Healthy Kids Act, they weren't allowed to have whole milk, if you can believe it. They could have anything else, but they couldn't have great milk the way it is supposed to be, paving the way for more than 30 million children who drink whole milk in school. And we introduced the Real Food Pyramid and reformed the vaccine recommendations to protect America's youth. We're making America healthy again. We're strongly requesting, even telling people when you get your shots for your young child, and this has to do, we think, with preventing autism, that you go to the doctor for 5 small shots instead of 1 big, massive shot. You do it in 5 different shots. 5 different shots. Small, little shots where those beautiful little bodies can handle it. And I think you're going to see a very big difference in the rate of autism, which is like an epidemic, what's happened with autism. And this year, as we celebrate the 250th anniversary of America's founding, we're also bringing back patriotic education for our youth through the Freedom 250 Mobile Museum. Students from over 3,750 schools are learning about the heroes who have made America the most exceptional nation in history. And we're teaching our children to love America, not to hate America. There's a lot of love going on right now. Our country's never done this well. We have billions and billions of different things happening, money pouring in at the rate of not even billions, trillions, over $19 trillion being invested in America right now. The last administration had less than $1 trillion in 4 years. We had 19, more than 19, 19.2 to be exact, and that's over a period of 12 months. We haven't even included the additional 5 months. So there's never been anything like that in history. No other country in the world has ever had investment like we're having right now being made, which is building factories, car plants, everything, all over, AI, all over the country at levels that nobody's ever seen before. No other country has ever seen what's happened. It's a revolution, a positive revolution. So in everything we do, we're empowering our nation's parents, we're restoring high standards and the pursuit of excellence, and we're proving that the golden age of America education is just beginning. And I want to thank you all for being here. You're incredible people. I know so many of you in the audience, but one in particular who's just an outstanding person, an incredible woman, Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon. Please come up, Linda. Thank you.
We get it down to my speed, which is always the case when I come up to the microphone. We have to adjust it. Thank you, Mr. President, for assembling this incredible event this afternoon, because nothing is more important in our country than educating our students. Parents, educators, and students, happy back to school season. This school year marks a return to common sense in American education, and it's all thanks to the leadership of our president, President Trump. I remember when President Trump called me shortly after the Biden's administration 2024 Nations Report Card, or NAEP, as you've heard, scores were released, and he told me he was angry and he was also embarrassed by where these scores were. We spoke about what a travesty it is that Americans have invested $3 trillion in a federal Department of Education meant to improve student outcomes, and yet only 30% of our students can read or do math proficiently. This is why President Trump demanded a hard reset to our education system, and under his leadership, we are delivering it. We are taking very deliberate and thoughtful steps to return education to the states. This school year, American parents and students have so much to be excited about because the Trump administration is steering education back to its rightful focus, serving students so that they are prepared for successful futures. Our administration has cut billions in funding for radical DEI programs and redirected those dollars to teachers, classrooms, and results, supporting evidence-based literacy instruction, pouring record funding into charter schools, and energizing workforce training. Key decisions that once sat with bureaucrats here in Washington, D.C. are moving to where they belong, to the hands of educators, parents, and local leaders who know these children best. 6 states now hold the first ever returning education to the state waivers, freeing over $100 million from federal micromanagement. These waivers allow state leaders to direct federal dollars towards what makes the most sense for their students and not what Washington thinks is best for those students. Additionally, a record 25 states are exercising EdFlex authority, which allows them to immediately free thousands of local school districts from mountains of red tape without first having to receive approval from the Department of Education. And under President Trump's leadership, we are restoring parents' sacred role as the first decision makers in their children's lives. Children belong to their parents, not the federal government. And through the Education Freedom Tax Credit, President Trump has delivered the largest national expansion of education freedom in history for over 50 million eligible children, giving parents unprecedented freedom to choose the path that is best for their child. So it's no surprise that over half of our nation's states, both red and blue, have raced to this historic choice option, benefiting families whether their child attends public or private school. Parents can also rest assured that wherever their child goes to school, this administration is vigorously protecting their right to know what's happening inside those walls. After the Biden administration allowed schools to secretly transition students without parents' knowledge, President Trump is defending parental rights like never before. At his direction, we are working hand in hand with the Department of Justice to ensure no school district ever has more power over a child than their own parents. Thank you. We've exposed states like California for some of the most widespread offenses and put schools on notice. If they subject children to radical experiments and sideline parents, they will lose their federal funding. Never before have parental rights been enforced at this scale, and parents are back in the driver's seats where they rightfully belong. Across every facet of education, these reforms are truly driving the progress that many promised, but only President Trump has delivered. We are breaking the grip of the education monopoly in D.C. and putting the future of our children back into the hands of those who know them, love them, and are best positioned to help them reach their God-given potential. We will remember this as a turning point in our country where, thanks to President Trump's leadership, American education began to reclaim its place as the very best in the world. Thank you all, and have a great and wonderful school year.
Great job, honey.
Thank you, sir. Nice to see you. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Now, I don't know if anybody wants to do this, but I'm going to be walking down here in about 2 minutes to meet with the people that are building the heliport. And you'll see right alongside of it the great structure that's rising right next to the White House, and that's going to be the ballroom/military complex. It's incredible. Now, if anybody would like to walk with me, I don't know if Linda's going to have any big events happening now. I don't think so. But if you'd like to follow me, especially with the kids could see construction. I love the sound of construction. when I hear all that banging out there, some people say, oh, that's too bad. And I say, I love it. You know, so if anybody would like to follow me, it'll be a large group, but it's a large pad. And you'll be able to see some very hard-working people. They're working hard and they're making a lot of money and they're doing something great for America. And they've needed a heliport for many years here, and we're getting it all done. We're doing all the things that should have been done for years. So if you want to follow me with the children, I think it'll be very interesting. You'll bring your nice family, okay? Follow me. We'll come up here and we'll walk down. Good. Thank you.
Already not sure how exactly they're going to do this, if we're going to have another camera that we're going to switch to following the president as they take a tour of the helipad that's being built at the White House. Of course, last week as we were joining you, we actually watched the president for quite some time on a tour of all of this. It looks like quite a lot of people are going to be following him there. That's a lot of people actually to be following the president onto not only this helipad, but to the new ballroom construction. So we'll see if they have another camera they might switch to here in the next few moments, and we will take you back to it coming up here in just a second if they do have another camera, so we can hear the president's continued comments live there. We were just watching, though, if you're just joining us for the 2 p.m. hour, we were just watching the president speak in the Rose Garden on school choice. We were watching because, and that's the kind of the reason we came on early, because the president was speaking, so we wanted to watch that. Looks like they're going to try to turn the camera. We're watching it live here, so we'll see what happens here. If maybe we get a different look at the tour there. So you're taking a look there, unable to see the president, but that is where the helipad and the construction is being built. There goes the president walking there. It looks like we are one of the what's the word, tabloid cameras. We're one of the, you know, like Page 6 or something, following the president, trying to capture him here. So we'll see. It doesn't look like they have a different camera to switch to. I was checking the other news organizations to see if maybe they had switched to another camera. Does not look like they did. So again, we will continue to monitor that as you take a look there in the Rose Garden. Alrighty, we want to take you right now to another big story that we are following this hour. It's all happening right now. This is in Las Vegas, Nevada. Again, another big story because Dwayne Davis, known as now still the trial in the Tupac Shakur murder case still beginning. Now in its second week, it's all day 6 of testimony there live in Las Vegas. It all happened beginning last week, and the whole point, what kind of was happening last week, was prosecutors had spent that time walking the jurors through the night of the 1996 shooting. They had testimony from not only responding officers, but the original detectives on the case. We even watched some of that last week on Brookland News Live. And former gang-affiliated witnesses who described the bloody feud between rap labels. Now, jurors had also heard the hours of audio from Davis's own 2008 and 2009 interviews with law enforcement, and you're watching some more of this interviews being played there from Davis. So another big story to watch right now. Jurors, again, hearing hours of that. They also heard in that audio, which he described handing off the gun used to kill Shakur and wanting retribution for an earlier fight involving his nephew. This is where it all goes back to. So the first week also had its tense moments because Davis accused prosecutors of leaking his address and his sister's address to the public, claiming his home and his wife's car were vandalized as a result. Now, the judge had admonished both sides to follow court rules. After the outburst, Davis's defense continues to argue that much of what prosecutors are presenting as facts is actually, quote, fiction, pointing to Davis's own tell-all memoir and a 2018 BET documentary as paid publicity stunts rather than reliable accounts. Now, Davis has pled not guilty and is facing life in prison if convicted. You're hearing some more of the hours of interviews that are being played there live in court.
When you guys started, when you started hanging out with Puffy and going to concerts, and how did that relationship?
So this is, again, from 1996, so the audio is not the best in the books, and it's quite rare to see a case like this go to trial after so long. So we're continuing to follow that as well. live there in Las Vegas, and we'll monitor that throughout this hour. Just one of the big few stories that we are monitoring right now out of Las Vegas. And I also want to get you to this other big story that we are following, also happening now. This one out of Plymouth, Massachusetts, a case that we've talked a lot about right here on Brookland News Live, and that is the Lindsay Clancy trial. Testimony is continuing today. Right now, they are in a sidebar with the lawyers and have been for about a little over 6 minutes now. Actually, it's been over 6 minutes, I should say, probably almost 10 minutes at a sidebar. Cross-examination of prosecution rebuttal witnesses, Dr. Avram Mack, also continuing this morning as he joined a Zoom call. We were watching this all on Friday, with Kevin Reddington, the defense lawyer, the lawyer for Lindsay Clancy, and then this Dr. Avram Mack. They went back and forth in what was a heated exchange. He joined court once again via Zoom. Now, it was, again, quite intense. Again, the witness there, Dr. Avram, who is one of the prosecution's rebuttal witnesses, had told the court that he had a difficult time even getting to see Clancy while she was hospitalized. Now, that testimony, it grew tinted points, as I was just saying there with Reddington, pressing Mack specifically on whether his own office may have limited that access. Now, prosecutors spent their final minutes with Mack trying to reaffirm that Clancy was only ever diagnosed with postpartum depression, not postpartum psychosis, which is central to the defense's case. Of course, Clancy is the woman who has said she did kill her 3 children, but has said she was mentally incapacitated and unable to choose right from wrong, unable to see what was right, what was wrong, if that makes sense. Dr. Kirk Hebron's testimony also wrapping today. Prosecutors are expected to call more rebuttal witnesses before both sides move to closing arguments, which are now expected to be sometime this week, guys. This is the 5th week of this trial, so quite a lengthy trial. It comes as this case is becoming a genuine culture flashpoint. I think that's a great way to explain it, with hundreds of supporters showing up not only outside the courtroom, but online. Outside the courtroom, they're wearing pink. The trial has sparked, as we have talked about here, a broader argument, bigger argument over postpartum psychosis. Not only that, but several women who've survived the condition speaking up publicly in recent days about what they want following this case and what they want people to understand after this case wraps up. So it's a big story there, and we have planned for us to go live there and listen in for a large part of the hour, but it looks at this point in time that they are in what is a sidebar, so meaning there is no audio or anything for us to listen into. What I can do is take you back there and we can wait for it to begin. I had planned us to listen in here. I have the audio all the way turned up, so as soon as we get the mics back on, I plan for us to go back there. Now, a witness was just testifying before it went into sidebar. Here's what I'll do for you. I want to, maybe we can rewind it. We could rewind it, I guess. Sorry, I'm just thinking on the spot here what we might be able to do to get you guys able to watch this right now. So what we're actually going to do, I think what we're going to do here, we're going to sneak in a really quick commercial break. If they come back during that commercial break, we'll bring it to you. If they do not, we've got a few other stories that we want to talk about before the hour comes to an end, and we're going to squeeze though in earlier as we wait for the sidebar to get over in the Lindsay Clancy trial, as it is now in its 5th week. More to come right here on Brookland News Live. Stick with us. And welcome back here live in Brooklyn News Live as we get you ready for the midterms. A lot to talk about, that is for sure. You're taking a look last week as a debate was ongoing, as Trump now defending now Senator Graham, the sister of late Senator Lindsey Graham, Darlene Graham, of course, taking his place, now running in an election, in the runoff election, to take his seat there, as voters in South Carolina will head to the polls tomorrow. I want to talk about her debate performance here in just a few moments because it was an interesting one, and now we're learning that the president is defending all of it here. So, Darlene Graham, Ralph Norman, they are facing off in a race that has become an unexpected test of President Trump's political pool. Now, Graham's campaign has struggled to move past her debate performance, and that's still going on. That's because last week, in this video saying there, we'll play the audio for you here in just a few moments. Graham admitted that she didn't, quote, she admitted, quote, national security is not my thing when asked about Taiwan and the South China Sea. Now, this moment has, of course, become now a central line of attack by Ralph Norman in his campaign, with one pro-Norman super PAC running ads asking, quote, what if Darlene Graham had any other last name? So, take a listen to this debate performance here. Again, it was... became a little bit nasty. We want to replay it for you here live on Brooklyn News Live. Take a listen.
National security question as well. Senator, are Taiwan and the South China Sea national security issues for the United States? If so, why?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Are Taiwan and the South China Sea national security issues for the United States, and if so, why or how?
I'm just going to be honest here. I'm not on national security. I'm not that informed on national security, so. But I do support the military. My brother was in the Air Force for 33 years, so I will do everything I can to support the military. My dad was in the Army. I'm not a polished politician up here. National security is not my thing. Not my area of expertise, but I do support the military.
Congressman, I'll give you a chance to respond, and I'm sure he recognizes that.
Taiwan's a definite ally, and we have a trading relationship with them that is beneficial to
them. So you hear the I could think you say fluffed response by Senator Darlene Graham as you watch that debate performance. Now Trump, he has reacted to this cleanup Friday night after his rally at Myrtle Beach, downplaying the gaffe while still acknowledging Graham's inexperience. I want you to get a listen to what President Trump had to say after all of this. Take a listen here. This is on Friday as he was about to board Marine One headed back to the White House. Take a listen.
All she was is being honest. She's very smart. And she was being honest. I mean, she's into the price of groceries, the price of food, the price of beef. And it hasn't been her thing, but she's surrounded by very good people. And she said that she's totally for the military. I mean, she's going to do what the military wants and really what the president wants. She understands that national security is my thing. And she is a terrific woman who answered. I watched that. I thought it was a very honest answer, actually.
So there you go, President Trump reacting to all of this. Now the question is, what will South Carolinians decide tomorrow? If you take a look at the number, I'm going to read off my notes here. It says Graham, she only took 33% of the vote in the initial primary. That means more than 60% voted for someone else. So that's the question here. Will the president's endorsement power actually mean something? It's something we've talked about this entire midterms or primaries heading up to the midterms here. So a lot to follow and a lot to watch for these next few days to see what this primary will look like. Again, tomorrow night is when all of that is expected. I want to get you back out live to the courtroom in Plymouth, Massachusetts, where we are waiting for things to get back underway. They're live, a sidebar now over, I would argue, 25 minutes, nearly 30 minutes. We'll take you back live into the courtroom coming up here in just a few moments. A very quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll have a look at your forecast. You're watching Brooklyn News Live.
In a world that never stops, Brooklyn News is always there. bringing you news from Brooklyn.
Now to some news right now in Brooklyn. An increase to your trash pickup could be coming soon.
The Nation.
We're going to start first right now with the breaking news and the information that we know.
And the world.
In the meantime, though, we do want to get to the latest on the war in Iran.
Follow Jackson Mitchell and Brooklyn News.
Defendant.
Okay, let's take you back live to the courtroom right now. The thing's getting back underway. Let's take a listen and see what happened here.
This has been obviously a long trial and a lot of work on the part of everybody involved, from the court to the staff to the prosecutors to myself, and needless to say, the strain on Lindsay Clancy. I have to move for a mistrial reluctantly. The reason is that this is intentional misconduct on the part of the prosecution. You know that this whole idea of injecting Roman Catholic faith, the concept of mortal sin, into this trial occurred, I don't even remember now, about a week ago, and I objected, but before I could get the objection out, Your Honor had us at the sidebar at the same time, and very forcefully, in my opinion, indicated to the jurors that they should not consider that to any degree. At the time, I put on record the fact that I did not feel that I felt that the court's instructions were sufficient. They were forceful. They were right on point. And we moved forward without a motion for a mistrial. I made a tactical decision. But unfortunately, at this point, it's a concern I have because this is just over the top. It's the same thing again, talking about religion, talking about heaven, talking about killing people and the impact or the effect that it would have on Lindsay as well as her children. The fact that this is not the first time that it occurred during the trial, and the prosecution has previously brought up the concept of mortal sin, based on your ruling in the past, in conjunction with the fact that they brought it up again, I believe it was intentional misconduct, and I feel that the court should grant a motion for mistrial.
All right, thank you. Kamal?
Thank you, Your Honor. The question I asked the witness did not ask for any testimony about religion, about Catholicism, about mortal sins, or anything like that. And the slide is still up on the screen. There's nothing on the slide about Catholicism, about mortal sins, about any of that. The witness was explaining his reasoning. I don't think it was intentional on part of the witness either. If we look at his interview of Ms. Clancy, one of the things that this witness has to do is determine whether the defendant knew the wrongfulness of her conduct. And that can be either that it was criminally wrong or morally wrong. And he explored that with her in the interview and asked her about whether she knew it was legally wrong, and she said she had no concept of legal consequences. And then he went on to ask her about moral wrongfulness and about her religion and whether she knew it was morally wrong, and she did say that she had knowledge that suicide was considered sinful. So I believe that's where the witness was going in trying to explain his reasoning. I don't think he was intentionally trying to inflame the jury or cause an issue in this case. I know I certainly wasn't, because I didn't ask a question about her religion or a question that would invoke that kind of response. I asked him to explain what was on the slides, and that's not on the slides. So there was no intentional conduct by the Commonwealth. That was not where I intended to go with this questioning, and I don't think that the witness intended to do any harm either. He was just explaining his rationale. So I would ask that the jury be instructed to disregard the answer, and I can speak to the witness and tell him not to talk about that reasoning for behind his thoughts, that he can testify about his conclusions, but to leave that portion of his reasoning out of his testimony.
Well, here's the concern I have, is what the witness did say in regards to it said, go to God, baby, go to God. That was statements that had been made in evidence already. And then he indicated that was part of her expectation, that she and the children would be together in heaven with God. All right. Now we're getting a little closer to problematic area. Then he testified she was raised as a Catholic. And as I understand Catholic considerations, that's not necessarily what happens. How is any of that proper at this point? But it was not, I'm not going to declare a mistrial at this time. What I am going to do is I'm going to bring the jury in. I'm going to tell them to disregard it. I'm going to tell them that's an inappropriate area of inquiry, and that this witness's understanding of Catholic dogma or Catholic teaching is irrelevant. There's no evidence of his background or training or having been to the seminary or any of that. And so I think, and that's where he injected that. And so I am giving that, but the Commonwealth, I'm going to strongly, and perhaps the strongest language, talk to him and let him know that he can't go into that. And then my thought is, we're going to bring the jury back in. I'm going to give them that instruction, and then I'm going to send them home. I don't want them leaving here today with the last thing they heard was a discussion about this witness's understanding of the Catholic teaching. That's not the last thing they're going to hear. And so my thought is that, as best I can, is to address that and minimize the damage or prejudice, because I do presume that this jury will be able to follow those instructions. And so that would be my thought. We'll come back. That will give the Commonwealth plenty of time to talk to this witness, to let him know the areas that he should and should not go into. And then we can come back tomorrow and we can resume his direct examination and cross-examination. All right, so that'll be my thought. We'll bring the jury in. I'll give them that instruction, and then we will recess until tomorrow. Okay?
Your Honor, just for the record, could I note an objection?
Sure, absolutely. All right, so we ready for the jury? Yeah.
So as we hear the objection there from not only Kevin Reddington, the defense attorney there, we were listening in there. You also heard what the judge said. So essentially, before we left, as we were actually watching President Trump speak, a witness was testifying. Specifically, I believe it was a psychiatrist. I can get the exact information because as I was preparing for the show, that was one of the things that I was following is who was testifying. It was Dr. Kirk Hilbram. He's a forensic psychologist, prosecution witness. The direct examination was ongoing. Some I guess, what sounds like maybe what was brought up about God and Catholic, the religion, of course, of Clancy's family. And we were listening into that. So now you see, well, the number of press there in the distance as the camera turns, the jury makes their way back in to the room. We've been watching this throughout the last several weeks. Now the jury coming back into the room. You see all the press. They're in the distance, and the people, the family, the people in the crowd watching. Besides the point there, sorry, I was just noting what we were seeing there in the distance. But it was what you're about to hear is an instruction from the judge saying to not consider whatever this witness just said, and we can go back in a few moments and listen into what this witness said, but to not consider that, and he's going to send them home. But you heard some stark remarks, not only from the defense attorney, but from the judge, to the Commonwealth, to the state, who is the prosecution in this case, saying, tell your witness not to say stuff like that.
It is to be stricken. It is not to be considered. I can't be any more clear of that. It cannot be considered. Secondly, the witness's understanding of Catholic teachings and considerations, again, is immaterial, it's irrelevant, it is to be disregarded based on that testimony. All right? And so, because we had a little bit of a delay due to this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to excuse you until tomorrow. All right? And so the thought is we'll come in, we'll finish up with this witness. I believe the Commonwealth has another witness at that point, and then we'll talk about where we go. I apologize for any kind of confusion or delay, but I just wanted to make sure you had those instructions with you when you left here today. All right? So, I'm sorry, but so I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.
Court, all right. Jurors, time to close your notebooks. Place them on the chairs. This way, please.
We'll stay here for just a moment longer here, because usually there is a little talk between the prosecution and the defense here. We'll see if they have anything else to add today before things completely wrap up for today. Again, right now the jury is being escorted out of the room once again.
Jurors have exited the courtroom. This court's in session. Please be seated.
All right. Counsel, one more time. Can I see it sidebar?
Okay, looks like another sidebar there. The mic's muted there. Lindsay Clancy sitting there. Unclear how long this sidebar will go. Once again, we'll continue monitoring the live feed. This is just kind of the, I guess it's the right word, epitome of watching all of this. I mean, we are just constantly going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. 1 second we're on a sidebar, 1 second we're right here inside the courtroom hearing the testimony. So we'll just wait just a moment. We'll see what happens here. And we'll bring you back to it. What I do want to do, as we are standing by for things to get back underway, behind the scenes, as soon as I switch off of this feed, I'm going to continue monitoring it. It's on in the distance here, so if I see any movement, I'll take you back to it. A live look in Brooklyn right now as we get you to a look at your hometown, your weather. I would argue my favorite segment to do here live on Brooklyn News Live. It's the one segment that we get to cover some news that's not necessarily so negative. It is some news that is slightly positive. I want to get you back to your look right now in Brooklyn. A beautiful day outside, but that heat wave continues, guys. It has just been so hot recently, and I'll tell you that is not really going anywhere. As we go into tonight, we're going to see a low of 69 degrees. Tomorrow, partly cloudy skies continue, high of 93 and a low of 71. And then by Wednesday, a high of 91 and a low of 70. And there is a chance, about a 40% chance we're watching here for some scattered storms. Again, that is on Wednesday. Going to be something to watch for these next few days. So we're going to keep our eye on it and bring you guys updates as we get them. Alrighty, want to take you back to yet another commercial break. I hate to do it, but as we await for this Lindsay Clancy stuff to get back underway, the hearing there, we'll see if there's anything else that the prosecution, that the defense need to add. At the end of the day, the jury now sent home. As we wait for that to wrap back up, and so we can take you back to it, we're going to sink in a really quick commercial break. We'll be right back. You are watching Brooklyn News Live. Alrighty. Just as I said it, they're back. So let's listen in.
The evidence will be done at some point tomorrow, with the thought that most likely we'll have a charge conference sometime probably tomorrow afternoon, and arguments in charge would be on Wednesday. All right, subject to change as they always are. So thank you, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Court, all rise.
Alrighty. Things are wrapping up there live in, live in Massachusetts. Excuse me, guys. I'm working on a live feed right now for you guys because we do have some breaking news that we want to turn to right now, because Secretary of War Pete Hegseth is speaking to the media and is taking questions, and I want to take you there and listen in here for just a moment. I'm working to get that live feed pulled up for you guys. Stick with us. Again, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth speaking now to the press. Let's listen in.
Barriers right now. I know you've seen a lot of the reporting. Sailors on the USS Lincoln. Are you worried about other ships?
No, to the sailors and families of the Lincoln, I say Godspeed on a historic mission. Congratulations, you're on your way home. You've done epic things to secure the American people. And I've had a chance to talk to, in fact, one of the guys on the assembly line's son is coming home. He's on the Lincoln right now. And he affirmed what I've heard time and time again, which is they're really proud of what they've done. It's been a tough deployment. They haven't had as much port visits as anyone would like. It's been longer than most, but they've done incredible things in the harshest of environments against an enemy, a determined enemy, that will change the course of history for American security. So I look forward to greeting them. I appreciate the good faith focus that's existed, but the media has done a lot of bad faith focus also, trying to spin things or misrepresent things. The Lincoln's done incredible work, and we're very proud of them. Yes.
The United States has two types of ATACMS weapons, unitary and cluster. The press reported that nearly all the ATACMS weapons were used. Did the United States use both unitary and...
Why would I answer? I mean, this is kind of a stupid question I would never answer. Like, why would I answer a question about whether we do or do not have certain types of munitions? I would tell you we have 110%, or I'll tell you we have one. I would never answer that question. And the press is foolish to want to press. An American press is foolish to want to press an American War Department about where we may or may not be on classified exquisite systems. I'll just tell you this. We had plenty when we needed it, and we have plenty now, and we have plenty when we'll need them in the future. Absolutely. Thank you very much. Appreciate you guys coming along. Thank you.
Alrighty, at least we got to listen in there for just a few moments there. Pete Hegseth taking questions there from the press for just a few moments in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Specifically asking about the USS Lincoln, of course, being changed out with the USS George Washington in a trip that could take several months to return back to San Diego after the USS Lincoln was deployed for quite some time, and there were questions about the mental health of those aboard after the Stars and Stripes, which is a news organization, reported all of it, reported that this was all happening on that ship. So something to watch for here in the next few weeks, not only that, months, to get updates on what's going on here and when the USS Lincoln could be returning back. Alrighty, we were just in a commercial break, and then we had two big stories coming to us. We're going to sneak in another 2-minute commercial break. When we get back, more news on the other side. Stick with us. This is Brookland News Live. It would help if I unmuted the mic. Welcome back here into Brooklyn News Live. I'm Jackson Mitchell, still with ya. Here, time now is 2:39. Lots to get to. Want to talk about this big headline as it was continuing to break today. Mark Carney speaking on all of this as the trade war between the U.S. and Canada now deepening. Want to get you to this. This is a developing story that we're following this hour. A look at Mark Carney as he spoke earlier today as the truce between both the Canada and the U.S. We all told you about this last week. Now completely falling apart after nearly 2 weeks of intense negotiations, talks collapsing all over the weekend. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney says his country is now, quote, at war with the United States on trade. Quote, because we were attacked, Carney said when asked why it felt like he was going to war. Now it's a dramatic reversal from just days ago when Trump paused tariffs and wrote on social media that, quote, the two sides, quote, have a deal, exclamation point. Mark Carney speaking earlier today. You see their representative, someone else there, I should say, speaking first. We're going to take a listen into his speech out of Quebec City, Canada.
Messieurs les maires Blaney et Marchand, grand chef Picard, commissaire de la garde côtière, Monsieur Kevin Brosseau, je fais une entorse au protocole aussi.
All right, what we're going to do, I'm going to skip directly to the Mark Carney piece just so we can get that specific part of this speech. So please stand by with me, and I know in Canada they both speak French and English, so I want the English portion of all of this here. So let's see if that is what he speaks first here. And this is not happening now. This is earlier. I apologize about that transition.
Je veux ajouter mes remerciements aux travailleurs et travailleuses de Davie. C'est incroyable. C'est à cause de vous que nous sommes ici aujourd'hui. Monsieur le ministre Lightbound, Monsieur le ministre.
Okay, I want to skip a little bit further here to see if he gives an English portion of this speech. I apologize.
Nous avons été pragmatiques, patients et persévérants. On veut conclure un accord qui protège les travailleurs.
I'm going to skip just a little bit more here.
Du Québec. Well, we made progress. We did make some progress. The United States has always been.
All right, let's take a listen now.
The goal of our trade negotiations with the United States has always been to get the best deal for Canadians. Never a deal at any price or in any time frame. The best deal. Le meilleur accord pour les travailleurs et les familles du Québec. Well, we made progress. We did make some progress in recent weeks. In the end, that momentum reversed. And we could not accept what the U.S. had offered, nor could we give what they asked. And by standing up for our values and focusing on what we can control, we will build un Québec fort in Canada fort pour tout. Now, that's not to say there won't be challenges in the road ahead, but we're ready to meet them because we have all we need right here. The workers, the engineers, the ambition, and the right plan for a stronger Quebec and a stronger Canada. Building at home and diversifying our trade abroad. That's not plan B. It's been our plan A from the start. Et la semaine dernière, à St. John's, nous avons lancé le plus grand projet d'énergie propre de l'histoire de l'Amérique du Nord. Madame la Première ministre Fréchette, je tiens à vous remercier de leadership, de vrai leadership, dont vous avez fait preuve pour mener ce projet à bien. Merci beaucoup. Un peu de contexte. Ce projet permettra de produire assez d'électricité propre pour alimenter tous les véhicules du Canada. Assez pour faire tourner notre économie par nos propres moyens, selon nos propres conditions pendant les générations à venir. C'est ça, it met de notre destinée. C'est ça, it met chez nous. Now, diversifying trade is also fundamental to building a stronger, a more independent, and a more resilient country. Over the last year alone, Canada has signed more than 20 trade and security deals across 5 continents. We completed our most recent trade deal with the United Arab Emirates in a record 47 days. Canada is now the best connected economy in the world. Canadian businesses now enjoy tariff-free access to 1.5 billion consumers. Over the next 6 months, we will double that number through new trade deals with ASEAN and India. This fall, we will begin intense discussions with the European Union, the world's second largest economy, to build a much stronger and deeper economic and security partnership. Now, we can build such unparalleled access because we're trusted, because we're reliable, and because we have what the world wants. But our connections depend on accessible, secure sea routes that carry our world-class products. The St. Lawrence, one of the world's great trade arteries. 1959, determined to build our own future by connecting the St. Lawrence to the Great Lakes, Canada opened the St. Lawrence Seaway, 7 locks, 300 kilometers, built in just 5 years. Près de 37 millions de tonnes de marchandises transitent par la voie maritime de Saint-Laurent chaque année.
Okay, this was all earlier today in Quebec City out of Canada, so we wanted to bring you that. Mark Carney, who is the prime minister there after all of this trade war drama, and now Carney saying the U.S. and Canada are now at war when we talk about trade stuff. So we're going to keep following that and bring you updates when we get them. And we do have even more breaking news this hour that we are following. This comes after Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent unveiling what he's calling a, quote, economic D-Day on Iran. This comes as a sweeping new sanctions campaign the administration is dubbing, quote, Operation Economic Outcast. Now, speaking at the Treasury Department today, Bessent said the U.S. is expanding secondary sanctions to target 5 of Iran's most vital lifelines, Now, this also includes digital assets, technology, gold, aviation, including things like shipping as well. The Treasury Department also sanctioned nearly 60 entities, individuals, and vessels tied to illicit nuclear and missile procurement, cyber operations, oil smuggling, all involved in this. We want to get you to the press conference held earlier today by Treasury Scott Bessent, here. Working on getting that press conference too. In the meantime, Bessent's biggest target in all of this, if you look at what the press conference said today, if you look at the kind of the context behind all of this, the big target might be China. That's Iran's largest oil provider and customer, I should say, buying an estimated 90% of its oil exports. Now, Treasury says it's going after a network of not only brokers, but companies who are showing, quote, shadow fleet vessels. Those type of vessels also operating over across the UAE, Hong Kong, China, Singapore, and Switzerland that channel Iranian oil revenue to the Revolutionary Guard. Bessent says Trump isn't personally calling world leaders with, quote, specific requests, but rather, just cutting off their trade with Tehran, not specific requests to cut off their trade with Iran. Let's take you to this all earlier today. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent speaking from the Treasury Department in D.C.
At President Trump's direction, the United States Treasury has begun Operation Economic Outcast, an unprecedented campaign against the Islamic Republic of Iran and its enablers. In the Second World War, D-Day marked the historic beginning of a campaign with our allies to target and drive the enemy from its positions, including those in third countries. Today, in that same spirit, we are launching an economic onslaught against Iran's financial connections around the globe. around the globe. Our objective is to sever every economic lifeline that sustains this tyrannical regime until Tehran stands alone. Iran's fanatics devote themselves to death to America and seek nuclear weapons to do just that. They have murdered and maimed more of our citizens and service members than any other terrorist regime on earth. And they have been at war against America, their neighbors in the Gulf, and much of the world for 47 years. President Trump has taken action that his predecessors have long deferred. And under his leadership, America is no longer managing the Iranian threat. We are ending it. Our great armed forces have laid the groundwork for achieving the President's objective of preventing Iran from ever obtaining nuclear weapons. They have shown America's resolve to finally end this threat. And the strength of America's economy under President Trump allows us to wage this sustained financial operation alongside the might of our military. Iran now faces a very clear choice with only two paths before them: complete global isolation and a subsistence economy, or a path back to normalcy with an opportunity to rejoin the global economy. Today, we are launching Operation Economic Outcast to foreclose every other option available to the Iranian regime. Treasury has mapped every node, every facilitator, and every network that Iran has used to smuggle oil and evade sanctions. Beginning today, the actions of Treasury and other agencies will tighten the noose and block every potential source of revenue that funds the IRGC and the evil Iranian regime. We are enforcing a zero leakage approach. There will be no minimal breathing space for the regime to rebuild its capacity to inflict terror against America and the world. The final refuge of this regime is the mistaken conclusion of nations that still finance the Iranian threat in the hopes of evading it. It is no longer acceptable to operate in the gray spaces of this conflict. Countries cannot claim they are blind to enabling this activity. Iran's enablers purchase, transport its petroleum. They facilitate the flow of its finances through exchange houses and free trade zones. They welcome Iran's flights and maintain registries on its behalf. They turn a blind eye to seaborne fuel transfers and overland transits. They condone illicit use of their banks, all the while concealing the extent of their complicity. The President is making phone calls to world leaders with specific requests to cease their interactions with the regime. We are already seeing results. Over the weekend, comments from Iranian leadership clearly acknowledged the effect of this campaign, and nations that facilitate any interactions with the regime should quickly heed our message. Those who stand with the United States will reap the rewards of our partnership. Those who tether themselves to the Iranian regime should expect to share in the isolation of a withering regime. Teams from Treasury, State, and the U.S. military are now meeting with their global counterparts to tell them that the United States expects action. Every country has a defined timeline to shut down activities we have identified. If they do not take action, we will do so unilaterally through Treasury authorities. For example, every branch of Bank Melay must be shuttered and dark. And let me be clear, any entity that facilitates money laundering on behalf of Iran will be removed from the U.S. dollar system. The clock just started ticking. The new sectoral sanctions determinations issued today target 5 of Iran's most vital lifelines that it exploits in other countries: digital assets, technology, gold, aviation, and shipping. These measures broaden secondary sanctions risk for anyone foolish enough to continue conducting business with this regime and will accelerate the speed with which we pursue them. As I speak, Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control is also sanctioning over 60 entities, individuals, and vessels around the world that enable the Iranian regime to procure illicit nuclear and missile technology, conduct cyber operations, and generate oil revenue. This is a sustained campaign to collapse every last option for Iran. Let there be no ambiguity as to the position of the United States. An economic engagement of any kind with this murderous regime will expose those responsible to the full reach of American power. For decades, this regime has drawn strength from a calculus that regards Iranian retaliation as certain and American enforcement as negotiable. Under President Trump, that era is over. To the ordinary soldiers supporting this regime, as more and more of your paychecks stop or are supposedly just delayed, ask whether your commanders are leading your country to triumph or to ruin. And recall that the Berlin Wall fell when ordinary soldiers decided not to shoot at their own people. And to those who enable Tehran, do not discount the cost of testing Washington's resolve. No nation should expect to enjoy the rewards of our system while helping those who seek to destroy it. It is now a time for world leaders to make a decision between prosperity and isolation, peace and terror, America and Iran. The campaign we begin today will gather force with every day that follows, and it will not end until this regime stands alone. With that, I welcome your questions. David from Reuters.
Hi, thanks, Secretary. One of the most powerful tools you have at your disposal is the ability to impose secondary sanctions on banks and financial institutions that facilitate transactions for Iran. Chinese banks have often been talked about being targeted, but we don't see any of those institutions targeted here. Is that something that is coming in this campaign, or is the very delicate trade truce with China something that could prohibit you from going that far and taking that very big step?
We want to make clear here today that no one is above the reach of U.S. sanctions, that if they facilitate transactions and are part of the ecosystem that turns Iranian oil into money, into repression, they will be targeted. We find that the best way to engage with countries is through quiet diplomacy, and we are level setting with every country to tell them our expectations. We know who they are, they know who they are.
Okay, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent speaking there, just starting to take questions there. This is again earlier today at the Treasury Department after announcing the economic D-Day sanctions on Iran, something we are going to continue to monitor. Now, Iran's foreign minister already responding to all of this, calling it a seismic manner. So we will continue to watch this story and the future of the war in Iran and bring you all updates. We do want to take you right now to some more breaking news that we are following, this time out of Texas. Lots of breaking news to sour, to say the least. This is a fire in Palo Pinto County, Texas, a grass fire that has since expanded. That live shot coming to you right now from KDFW, the local Fox station out of Dallas. What we know, this is a 30-acre grass fire, already named the Ross Fire, 0% contained, so that's a big thing to watch here for. Could be still expanding at this hour. We also know if you're traveling in Texas, know where this is. Highway 180 near Ross Watson Road has been closed, and drivers are advised to avoid the area. Now, firefighters are actively working to protect at least one threatened structure here. Just a big grass fire. You see the helicopter camera there zooming closely. Still not a lot to see. We are watching it live, and we'll bring you guys updates. I'm taking a look at some photos on my screen right now, which I'm going to bring to you guys here, and you're able to see from Fox 4, you're able to see the smoke plumes bright in the air. Take a look at some of those images that are coming into us right now from Fox 4 showing this fire. So you can just see the plumes of smoke heavy in the air there. Again, that is from KDFW out of Dallas. So we are continue to monitor this scene. If there's a major update, you can expect Brookland News to bring that to you. Alrighty, we are going to wrap up our coverage here and conclude our coverage here on this busy Monday. Lots of news happening, lots of live feeds and stories from earlier today that we wanted to bring and update you with. Thank you so much for joining us tomorrow. I am planning to be here, though those plans are subject to change. So tomorrow and Friday, the 2 days this week to watch out for. I'm going to try my best to be here every single day this week, but plans change. Things change, and I might have to do something else at the same time that this show is supposed to air. Remember, you can follow myself on all the social media pages there on the bottom of your screen, and we are working on a news story that we will tell you more about at a later time to come on brooklandnews.com. Right now, our latest story over on bn.com, brooklandnews.com is the midterms preview. Still recommend you to read it. There's a few updates that I do plan to make in the next coming weeks, but still a pretty good story to read there over on brooklandnews.com. And remember, you, again, as I just said, we're going to try to be here tomorrow starting at 2 p.m. If we're not, I apologize. Go to our social media pages. If there's big news, we'll bring it to you there. We were updating you guys, just talking about this weekend on the big storms. Another big case to watch is the Lindsay Clancy. I'm going to try to be here and bring you guys updates when we get them out of that case as well. That concludes this Monday edition of Brookland News Live. We will see you again very soon. Stay safe, you guys.